How's it going, y'all?
And welcome back to B-Bros. The finale of Loki aired last week.
We ended the first season of an insanely well-written and produced show.
The sixth and final episode left us on a huge cliffhanger, and there is a lot to unpack, mainly about the multiverses.
We'll do our best to explain the current situation after Loki and how the multiverses will affect the future. Loki and Sylvie reached the Citadel at the end of time and met with He Who Remains. He is the mastermind behind the TVA and the Newtonian timeline, better known as the Sacred Timeline in the MCU.
He Who Remains controls the flow of time and knows everything that will happen. He explains that he allowed Sylvie and Loki to find him on purpose.
This makes a lot of sense because he literally holds infinite amount of power. Unless he wants to, he cannot be beaten.
The reason why he called Sylvie and Loki to his citadel is to transfer his duties to two Lokis. He has watched them over time and believes they can run things.
It may not seem logical for a person with infinite power to just hand it over, but if we think about it, he lived millions of lifetimes and he's simply tired.
From his story, we know he is just a variant like Loki. He is allowed to have human behavior.
He Who Remains, aka Nathaniel Richards, which is not told in the episode, is a scientist who lived in 31st century Earth.
This explains why everything is so worldly in the TVA. They use pen and paper, people working are all human, he who remains lives in a big castle, etc.
He and many of his variants figured out how to travel through multiverses. How he did it, we don't know. But we know that Tony figured out how to travel through time in the 21st century by the quantum realm. We have reason to think Nathaniel used the same principles. Maybe Tony could have done it 10 centuries earlier if he lived on. We can back to quantum realm theory with a few points.
First of all, in Endgame, Scott mentions how time works differently in the quantum realm. The same is said on the first episode of Loki. This creates the possibility of TVA being inside the quantum realm. Also, Nathaniel Richards, or one of his variants, the Conqueror, who we saw in the end of Loki, will be in the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There has to be a connection there.
The multiversal war told by Miss Minutes in the first episode of Loki was apparently not in the past or present, but in the future after 31st century.
The multiversal war that took place was caused by Nathaniel Richards. Some of his variants weren't as peaceful as the one on Loki and wanted multiversal domination.
This was prevented by He Who Remains. He ends the chaos and closes all the multiverses, putting time in a loop.
He offers two options to Sylvie and Loki.
Option number 1 is Loki's to kill him and open the multiverses, allowing freedom but also chaos. Option number 2 is the option Nathaniel wants, and it is Loki and Sylvie to take his place.
He warns them that allowing multiverses to open will cause variants of him to fight for multiversal domination like it happened in the past.
Option number 2 is the safest path. Loki and Sylvie can be together all the time as Loki would have wanted, and they could have ruled everything like Loki always dreamed of. They could have also allowed some controlled number of multiverses to open if they ran the TVA in a new way.
As much as Loki wanted this reality, Sylvie couldn't give up her dream, freedom. This crushed Loki as he loved Sylvie more than anything. As sad as we are for Loki, option number 1 brings other problems with itself.
Unlimited amounts of realities are now opened because of events that took place at the end of time. This allowed branches to open at all times. When something changes in the end of time, all the timeline is affected. This means all 24 movies and 2 TV shows, excluding Loki, is now affected by this event. It doesn't change the course of history, but we know that events in there has to stay true to what happened in the end of time.
We believe this means the multiverses existed all the time in the MCU. The events in Loki and the TVA are timeless. The effects of it to the timeline cannot be explained linearly, especially at the end of time.
This idea is supported when we see Loki return to the TVA in the end of the episode where he is in a different reality, the reality of Kang the Conqueror. Without the variant He Who Remains, Kang is now the new leader of the TVA and more.
We can talk a little more about Kang the Conqueror now. First of all, we are glad he is announced early on in Phase 4 and the new saga just like Thanos.
We had a conversation between each other a couple days ago before the finale and said how we wanted to see the new Thanos of Phase 4. It is important for story building.
We are glad that a villain who can have the same volume of impact as Thanos is now introduced. Also, he is introduced in a very unique way, by using multiverses. We have seen not necessarily the hero or even the good version of him, but a more likable variant of him.
Jonathan Majors, the actor, did a fantastic job playing He Who Remains, and his character will probably be entirely different as the Conqueror. We loved him so far and look forward to seeing his Conqueror version. He will probably be a lot more serious and intimidating.
The question is, what will happen now?
Thanks to Sylvie, the multiverses are open and there is or will be chaos. From the messages we have received from Loki and looking at the stories in the comics, we are pretty sure multiverses will always be open from this point onward. However, there needs to be some sort of stability and order.
Kang is now the leader of the TVA, and Loki might be the only one to know about it, probably with Sylvie. It is hard to predict the future just from the top of our heads, so looking at the future projects will help us understand how the issue of the new universes will be dealt with.
We knew nearly all the projects that will take place in the MCU would somehow be related to multiverses, but now we know all of it will have to deal with it one way or another. The Multiversal War, or the Secret Wars, more common name in the comics, might be what is on the horizon, and it might be an endgame-esque event, at least the volume of it.
But there has to be a lot of build-up until that moment, as the Avengers lost a lot of power after Endgame, and they are not united as of yet. We don't know if Avengers will be fighting the Secret Wars, but a group equal to their strength will have to be out there.
Let's look at the future projects to understand the build-up before solving the multiversal chaos.
The first project to talk about is Loki Season 2. Loki Season 2 is guaranteed to come. It has been rumored since the announcement of the show, but the post-credit scene in finale of Season 1 guaranteed its return.
We doubt that the problems caused in Loki will be solved in Loki. Its effects will be spread around the universe, so we don't exactly know what will happen in there. We mentioned how it ended on a massive cliffhanger. No one really knows what is going on, and there is an extremely dangerous man running an extremely powerful organization. So far, the Loki, Sylvie, Mobius, or any character we have seen cannot face a villain as powerful as Kang. They'll surely need more support.
An additional issue is Loki and Sylvie have different opinions about how to proceed. Sylvie kind of accomplished her mission, whereas Loki failed. The next steps he will take will show his position. Will he try to restore the TVA as an easier way of dealing with the multiverses, or take a stand against Kang the Conqueror? How will he find his Mobius? Will they team up with Sylvie? We have around a year to get these answers.
There are 8 other projects that can or will deal with multiverses.
The first one is What If. What If is the closest Marvel show, and it will begin on August 11th. We thought What If was going to recreate the movies with one of its key aspects changed, and they were going to be separate stories. From the recent information and the trailer, we now know that it'll be connected to each other. With the multiverses open, Loki's series allowed this reality to be created. The footage we have seen so far impressed us, and we are looking forward to watching this new reality.
Eternals are Thanos-like creatures who apparently watch but don't directly affect human lives. They have been on Earth for a while doing that, but now they have to intervene as the Avengers is no longer there to protect not only Earth but the universe. We believe after watching Loki, the only reason they come isn't because the Avengers are gone. It is because there will be multiversal chaos and the Avengers aren't there to do anything. We have no confirmation on this, but such powerful creatures not involved in a multiversal war would be a waste of their potential.
Spider-Man is everyone's go-to when multiverses are mentioned. Spider-Verse theories have been dominating the internet for a while without even a trailer. We don't yet have a confirmation about it, but the evidence strongly proves Spider-Verse introduction.
Loki did most of the groundwork for it. We won't discuss the characters Spider-Verse can bring, as that information is no longer newsworthy. We should mention Spider-Man can lead the Avengers in the multiversal war. He's the biggest name in Marvel. If his character can grow in the next few movies, he can have a stronger presence amongst superheroes. The Spider-Man we have seen isn't even 18 yet, so he has a lot of room to improve.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will be the movie to deal most about multiverses. The other dimensions have already been revealed on the first Doctor Strange movie, which is one of the reasons that make us believe of the existence of multiverses in the MCU so far. We expect to see Doctor Strange to help us understand the current situation better.
Magic is key to understand or control the multiverses. That must be why Loki variants were chosen to replace He Who Remains. That is why the name Multiverse is used in the title of the Sorcerer Supreme's movie, and that is why Wanda, the ultimate witch, is on Doctor Strange. Magic is key for winning the multiversal war and brings stability.
We have long time until Thor Love and Thunder, but there is one aspect that we would like to discuss. Jane Foster, who will be also a Thor, can be a variant. Our Jane Foster has no reason to become Thor. Also, there cannot be two Thors in the same universe.
But two Thors from two universes is only logical. That is true for Gamora, who will be on Guardians 3. Our Gamora died in Infinity War, and logically, they should have disappeared after Tony's snap.
The final announced project to talk about is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Ant-Man's role will be greater now in the MCU, and this movie will not be like the first two Ant-Man movies. We at least know there will be a great villain, unlike the first two movies, Kang the Conquerer.
Quantumania is in 2023, and there will be a lot until then. But we are looking forward to seeing more of Kang and potentially get more explanation as how the technology was created to travel through multiverses. Quantum technology must be key in successfully operating it.
These are all the announced projects that can or will use multiverses, but the existence of multiverses contains a lot more potential. Different versions of the superheroes that we see can be brought into the MCU, so more what if-like content.
Dark Avengers is one of the main groups that we would like to see. The power Avengers have is enormous, and we would like to see a version of them that abuses their power. The DCAU did that with the Justice Lords, and even though they don't appear constantly in the shows Justice League and Unlimited, they play a crucial role.
We can see a lot more variants in the MCU from now on.
After this build-up, the multiversal war will be fought, and in the end we need to find a stable multiverse where freedom is there but there also is some sort of peace without TVA. This can be the end plan for Phase 4 or the new saga. If we know Marvel, we shouldn't be able to explain the future of the MCU just from the information that we have. There will be twists and turns and unexpected events.
It's too soon to know what's to come with Marvel, but we are looking forward to learning more.
Until next time.
Be bros out.